Hello, and welcome to Austin Miller's Post-Chorus Podcast, Ep.3, with Ginger.
Sure. I'm Robbie. I play rhythm guitar and sing lead vocals in Ginger.
And I'm Alex. I play lead guitar and do backing vocals, also in Ginger.
Cool. So, this first segment is what, why, where, and when. So, what do you write about, why do you write, and when do you write, and where do you write?
Yeah. I guess I'll start on that just as a general overview. What I write about, what we write about in general, is kind of a strange one because lyrics are something that we kind of come up with that are secondary and a bit more organic than perhaps the song, the melody and the song itself. It's kind of stuff that I make up on the spot, really. I know we'll go into the process of it a little bit later on. It'll probably make more sense there. But I guess in general, I kind of tend to focus on images that reflect the feel of the song. So more like metaphors and things like that, rather than direct discussions with autobiographical experiences or politics or anything along those lines. It's more just sort of imagery, really, that I tend to kind of focus on.
Nice.
And for me, I think it's quite similar. I've always struggled to write lyrics that I feel like I really believe in. I've had like a few lucky streaks with like a couple of phrases, and then that's usually what I wait for. I'll like sit and just, if I think of a phrase, I'll note it down on my phone, and then just wait for the ones that make me go ooh to come out.
Yeah, that's
Similar with guitar playing.
Yeah.
I won't have like this is songwriting time. I'll just kind of be sitting and twiddling away, and then something will make me go, "Oh, what's that?" Or yeah, I'm sure you know yourself. It's the things that make you go, "Ooh."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost retroactive. I think, especially the lyrics. It'll tend to be that we'll get into a state where we'll jam, or I'll be playing a track, and I'll just let myself kind of come up with things, ideas, images, off the top of my head, and then the subject matter of them will probably become a bit clearer after the fact, where I'll turn around and sort of think, oh, maybe I was discussing this. Maybe it refers to this kind of significant event that happened to me, or this thing that's going on in the world or something like that. But it always tends to be more on a kind of retroactive basis rather than a process of going, I want to write about, coronavirus or lockdown, or I want to write about, Boris Johnson or being a bad politician or whatever it would be. It's more of a retroactive.
You can justify it, I suppose, at the end, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Kind of like the art exam, the written one. You have to just write stuff about what you're looking at and then make it sound like you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. You can't just say it was a pretty thing. You thought it was a pretty thing to draw. You've got to say, oh no, it's a reflection on postmodernism.
Yeah, I found that with like on this and speaking to people who write songs and music, it's always after the fact. It's always like retrospectively. It's you go, oh, so that's what that was about. I've always found that.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you've.
Well, it was something that I think I was listening to the podcast you did with Alex, a really big fan of Alex's music. And he was talking about like accessing a flow state or some sort of state of being where you're not really sort of consciously aware of or constantly constructing the ideas that you're expressing in the music. You're kind of focused on it in a way where you're kind of letting yourself play it, or come up with it, and not trying to sort of grab onto it too tightly or focus it too strongly in any direction. And I thought that was a really good way of describing it. It's not something that is I feel specifically aware of when I'm writing a song where I'm thinking I'm going to write about these things. It's more something that I feel is an of the moment kind of a feeling that I'm expressing through music, I think.
Yeah.
I find, like the other side to the kind of just justifying it after though can be like, there's the two sides of it for me where I've got riffs that I've had written for. Some of them have been there for years, like just years sitting, and I'm like, right, okay, I love that riff, but I can't use it until something that's as good as it or better comes along, if you know what I mean. So, but then you end up hoarding all these bits that are like, my friend Jake, who I used to play in a band with, put it really well. He's always telling me to like just hash it out and just like hack out the song. Don't think about it, and then just the good ones they'll come along. It's just don't think about it too much because if you do, then you'll never finish it.
Yeah, I
that
found that
that
as
I
well.
think
That
it
makes
applies to me like quite a lot.
totally. I think getting together as a band as well has helped that process along quite a lot as well for me, Alex. I don't know about yourself, how you feel about that. I mean, I'm going to say really nice things about the band now. He's going to sit there saying, like, "I prefer working by
Nah.
myself and can't be bothered with your input." And but it helps a lot because it's when you're writing on your own, you're kind of sitting there just going, "Is this any good? Is this something that other people like? What am I trying to say with this? Where should it go? You know." And I think
I find that like I'm the first hurdle that I always fall out. It's like, it's okay, but like, God, do I even like this?
yeah,
It's not like less about I get to the stage where I'm worried about like other people. I think I'd be yeah about 2 steps ahead of where I am now.
Totally. I think the band helps that, because you can just turn around
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
just say, "This is a track that, is it any good? Do you guys like it or not?" And you're kind of in an honest environment where the other band members can say that's absolute rubbish, or maybe we could do this or add this, or and it kind of takes it into something that you feel a lot more comfortable and confident with. I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and it helps like find a
Yeah.
home for all those lonely riffs. Like I've
Yeah.
like yeah, I've always kind of been like written in kind of group scenarios, if you know what I mean, like with bandmates or the guy who told me about the songwriting. Just hash it out. The way we would work is he would like usually write almost everything, and then I would come along and like put harmonies on and do like guitar bits, figure out my bits, and I have like kind of I find out I work a lot better collaboratively like that. Just like
Totally.
because then I don't have the whole sit for 4 hours playing the same riff round and round and then decide I don't like it
Yeah.
and like all the different rhythms and all the different styles you can imagine. It's like, well, what if I sped it up? Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, so that you end up with just uh, all the different styles of the same riff. It's like, oh, I like them all. Now we can never use this.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's something I found as well, like working with um now with a band or with even just with another musician is when you're by yourself, you don't have that kind of mirror to bounce to bounce anything off of. I'd say, is that good? Or is that good? To start with? I had like there was no one that I'd feel comfortable saying anything to. I know, but I think it does build your confidence having even not even like a bandmate or someone who plays music, just like a friend or like someone that you trust or like a family member that you trust. Just to, is this any good? Do you like this? Is this because that's what it took for me. I think that's where you can kind of build your, you know, your confidence from. Because if you don't have that, if you don't know what it, I mean, you know yourself if you like it, but it might be total, total crap. You need to
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
So,
I think I kind of realized that I kind of jumped around and dodged the question at the beginning as well, because you're asking like what is it that we write about? I think retroactively, it's not as I said, it's not something that I feel like I'm conscious of now, but retroactively, I think that the main themes of our music or the lyrics so far have been things like growing up, um, sort of recognizing that you're growing into an adult, you have to be an adult, but also recognizing that you're behaving and still feel like a child or like a 20-year-old, and I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like a conflict that I discuss. And then I also think relationships as well. I mean, I think they fall into everyone's kind of writing, but Garden specifically, I think I was kind of hashing this out and thinking about it earlier. Is kind of about how a relationship can be freeing in terms of allowing you to express yourself with more confidence and with greater depth. But that also with that kind of with that freedom comes the responsibility that you then have to maintain this relationship, that you have to be solid with this relationship over a long period of time, and that takes work. And there's obviously the fear that you might lose this newfound confidence and freedom if you let the relationship slip. So I guess that's kind of the content of the songs that we've kind of written so far. That's
Mhm.
kind of what they end up meaning, I think.
Yeah. So see, when you're writing this kind of going off topic a little bit as well, but when you're writing songs, like because you're in a band and you all sing, I take it you all write bits and pieces as well, because we've got 2/4 of the band here just now. Um, but yeah, so how does that? How do you come together and like what's your like if you're coming into that rehearsal room to go right? Here's a new song. Like what who's bringing what to the table type thing.
Suppose generally, um, we'll start with the instrumentation so that we can all we all figure out our bits, and then usually Robbie will have a melody or he'll like snatch one out the air, and then the rest of us kind of build around that, and we do it like layer by layer. And we've tried. We don't usually go into the rehearsal room to like kind of work out new songs. I think we've been trying to kind of do it in the flat, and like just because it's free, and I don't know,
Yeah.
feels like I don't know, it feels like you can spend more time just figuring one thing out and then like move on, come back, do all that. Yeah, again, because you're not like, right, we've got 3 hours, we need to do this, we need to do that. Which
Yeah.
I suppose it could work. We could like, but we haven't really tried it that way yet. And
I think as well, the choice of going in the flat is like a good chance for us to focus a lot on like on the harmonies that we work on as well. Because I think when you
Yeah.
sit down in the
absolutely.
studio, I think it was quite a big thing. But yeah, sorry, you were saying I was interrupted you there, Alex. Apologies.
That's all right. Yeah, and then there's other times like so the bassist Gary, he wrote like a song on the guitar, and then that's just become like a whole song based off that. And because he's a guitar player like initially, and kind of picked up the bass because we needed a bass player. And so we all kind of do it. I think that everyone just brings what they've got and
What they're going. Yeah.
unveils it.
Yeah. Because I think for uh I know for me and for like the band that I've got just now, because it's I'll write the songs. It's very much like here's a song, and then they all kind of dress it up if you like.
Totally.
But that's a I haven't had that yet where you go, right, someone else got something, who's written a song, or no, who's got an idea and then built it. It's something I'm kind of interested in doing a bit more of.
It's funny. The band kind of started on the premise and off the back of the EP that I wrote and did and sort of produced on my own. And I kind of initially I asked Alex, Claire, Gary, and Tom Kerrin, who sadly left us and was working on other projects after about 6 months.
He's not dead or anything.
He's not dead. He's totally well.
It did
Hi,
sound
Tom.
a bit like that.
Hello, Tom. If Tom's listening, hello, Tom. Hope you're well.
He's dead to you though. No.
Not at all. We just don't speak to him or look him straight in the eyes.
Nah, it's jokes.
Last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, funny
Got to cover
games.
myself. He might come for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Maybe he will. But yeah, and then
Sorry, what are you saying, Robbie?
we were trying to work through the songs that I'd written already, kind of with the idea that we were going to be performing as a bassist this kind of EP that I put together, and it was just like it was taking a long time, didn't really feel very natural. It didn't feel like we were really enjoying it or clicking particularly well on it. So we kind of just had a few beers and left that alone and just started jamming a few tracks instead and kind of making it up as we going along. And I think that was that suddenly made a lot of sense. I think we've jammed a lot in the past. I think we've even jammed together. We're kind of used to that experience, and I think that really unlocked a far clearer process for the band in terms of making music. And it meant that we were all kind of taking part in the process and constructing our own parts, and everyone had ownership over the music. And I think when we worked that way, we started bringing the best out of each other in terms of our own parts and our own creativity.
Yeah. So the next part is influences. So if you could each kind of talk about what your main influences to songwriting, and whether that's like books or like other music, lyrics and poetry, whatever.
Sure. I remember just as a sort of anecdote, I remember I somehow managed to weasel my way into an interview with Nick Holbrook from Pond back when I was at university. I just sent in from Glasgow University magazine, and for some reason, I've got no idea why they decided to let me interview them. And I completely embarrassed myself. Got given like a beer and told to leave, but it was like just so unprofessional. I think they were like midway through, they were like, "Who the hell is this guy?" But he said, I asked him a similar question. He said, we've been writing this album for like a year, and through that year we've like watched so much TV, met so many people, read so many books, listened to so much music, all that kind of stuff, that it's quite difficult to put all of that into a brief summary of what it is that made this record. which I thought was quite an interesting way of putting it because I never really thought about it that way. I always thought you'd just go, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. But it kind of makes sense. I'd say that I've listened a lot of the music I listened to when I was younger, which impacted this were things like The Killers and Kings of Leon. Those kind of like anthemic
Mm-hmm.
like songwriters. But then latterly, I've listened to a lot of like Mac DeMarco and also listened to a lot of prog rock and things. But I'd say those two in general, I think in terms of constructing my tastes in music, I think were quite important.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's yeah, it's like Robbie says. I mean, obviously the music when you're younger. So like my parents, I listen to quite a lot of stuff that they listen to. There's some that I cannot stand, but yeah, taking the best, and then even like my friends have kind of when I started playing guitar, it was like I was at a party and someone was playing Mosquito Song by Queens of the Stone Age,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that is the coolest thing ever. I need to know how to do that. And then yeah, kind of went from there. And then playing in bands with my friends for years who were both like amazing. So that really was almost like, right, cool, I need to play catch up. They've already been playing for like 3, 4, 5 years, and it's like I've just started, and I want to be in a band with them, so I need to be good. So like I don't know, I think that influenced me as well. And but like to throw names out, I would say like Talking Heads have been massive for me. Like Kate Bush, when I first heard her, just
Mm.
like, oh well, never, that's my heart gone in love with Kate Bush. And then like people showing me like King Crimson, like the really weird, like dark stuff or like that,
Yeah.
because I was a bit of a mosher
Yeah.
when I was like 14.
Still are.
Yeah, exactly. Used to have the long blonde hair and listen to like Slipknot and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love System of a Down, like listen
Yeah.
to them pretty regularly. So yeah, I'd say they're a big influence. Like the way that they sing, like the
Mm.
fact that they've got that sound where as soon as they start singing or start playing, it's just like, oh, it's System of a Down, awesome.
Yeah, you just know as soon as you hear a System
Yeah,
of a Down
yeah.
song.
Oh,
Like
so good.
Yeah, I love kind of like fantasy and like fantasy like books as well. Like I studying English lit as well, so like just not all music. Like I really loved Led Zeppelin. I'm sure I like to, like, we're all a big fan of Led Zeppelin, but he used to have like
I
lots
think I
of
prefer Jimmy though, personally.
Jimmy. Yeah, that's fair
I
enough.
realised I just sitting there thinking, Jesus, I listened to so much Jimi Hendrix
Yeah.
and didn't even say his name.
Totally.
Right.
Sorry, Jimmy. I'm sitting underneath a poster of him right now as well.
Just shaking your head at you, man. Yeah, and how they included lots of like fantastical lyrics and fantastical elements like referencing Tolkien and all that kind of stuff, which I really liked. That idea of creating or the idea of creating a kind of fantasy environment where you could explore ideas in a more abstract way. It's always something I find really fun, and I think that kind of comes into the way that I write that we've written tracks as well. Is creating that kind of I don't know, an environment around the music, like a little bit of a narrative around it and stuff like that.
I think also if you have even just one good piece of imagery, like in a song, that can just really draw people in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I can't think of any examples just now, but
Yeah, we
just-
don't do it
Or
well.
like a line, or like this it could be like one bit, or like it's always like one, if it's like a guitar part or like a lyric, you're just like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's brilliant. You hear it for like the first time, and what I notice I do is I laugh. That's how I know something's good, if you laugh at
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You're like,
definitely.
oh, like
Yeah,
yeah,
can't believe that.
like if someone's amazing, you just like
It's
sitting there
like,
laughing. Like,
yeah, yeah,
It's like it's that one line from The Killers, like all these things that I've done, is one that is always like stuck in my head. Is like, I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier, and it's like I've always wondered, like, what on earth is he talking about there? It doesn't really seem like it has, is it literal, or is it more just kind of like a nice lick that makes
it's a
sense?
cool
But
sounding line.
it's
Yeah.
just a cool sounding line,
Right.
and I just always thought that was the coolest thing, that it just made so much sense in the context of the song, and
Mhm.
really resonated with me, and I had no real idea why, because I'm not a soldier, you know what I mean, it didn't, when you dissect
And
it
you're
means
ginger,
nothing.
so you don't have a soul.
I don't have a soul. Exactly, man. None of us do. None
that
of us
makes
do.
two of us.
Oh shit! Can't go offending the host. Sorry. You're all right.
Yeah, man. Cut him off. Cut him off.
That's it,
No,
man. How
like,
do you get?
just on the imagery thing. Sorry, it's like even just like it doesn't have to be artistically amazing or stuff like that. It can just be something funny. Like I don't know if you've listened to Love, band from the '60s, I think, and there's there's a line in one of their tunes. It's like I think it's the first line. It's the snot has caked against my pants and it has turned into crystal. And he's singing about shooting a bluebird on it because it's in his garden. Oh, it's,
Man, that's
It's
so good.
it's the wordplay, I think, especially with lyrics, that gets me. It's like I've never thought about that. You know, I've never thought about those words together. Like bands like Everything, Everything.
mm-hmm.
They just released a new tune, and I can't remember. There's a lyric in it that just what is it? I can't remember just now. It'll come back to me. But is it a lyric? I heard it yesterday when it came out, and I was like, oh, he's done it again. Like, how does he keep coming up with these words, like, but together? You know, putting these words together. You know, and the way he does it, it's just like blows my mind a little bit.
Totally. I think you were chatting. Alex was chatting about Father John Misty as well. I think like what he did with kind of folk indie rock as well is something that I thought was I didn't get when I first listened to it. Like I kind of just thought, oh, you know, it's just a kind of catchy indie song. But like you listen to his lyrics a bit more. I am thinking about the right guy. He's the guy that used to play in Fleet Foxes, and it's kind of like comedy style lyrics and stuff like that, isn't it?
You asking me?
No, I'm asking in general. I'm pretty sure that's the correct.
Oh.
I'm not
That's
sure.
correct.
I don't know if I've heard Father John Misty.
I might be getting that wrong, to be honest. I may just move on from that point because I'm not finding anything of value out of it.
I'm shutting you down, Robert.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It might not. It's not. It might not be Father John Misty. I'm pretty sure it is, but he creates like lyrics that are kind of like it's got a comedy element to it, so it's very self-critical. It might not be Father John, but people might know who I'm talking about in general if I keep going. And it's this. I think the idea of it being so comedic and kind of self-referential, and not the kind of stereotypical lyrics about finding love and idyllic, planes and all that kind of stuff. The fact that it was just, taking the mickey out of himself a bit, kind of like, Mac DeMarco and Viceroy as well kind of does that, this kind of real perspective on his personal life that's very endearing in a song that I really enjoy.
Yeah. So that's a good point to kind of take us on to the song journeys segment, which is we can talk about the process between the demos of the song to the finished product, which is what you've sent over. So
Alex doesn't know anything about this. I've sent Austin through the very first recording I was ever playing Gardens. This was actually recorded when we had that I mentioned earlier, that session at mine after doing the EP. So this is us like in advance warning to anyone listening to this, 7 or 8 beers down, and kind of it's a bit of a mess, but hopefully it's but yeah,
cool. Let's have a listen.
Disclaimers in. I like that.
Cool. Let's have a listen.
I can see them. I could hear it on the way up the stairs. Actually, it sounded sick. Yeah. I've heard.
Yeah, so I guess like it kind of goes on like that for a good sort of 7 minutes, but I think it sums up how we come up with things quite well. It's I'm just droning away meaningless like things that are coming to my head when I'm hearing like melodies that are just popping to my
Yeah.
head while we're doing this.
Yeah. It's very
And-
brave of you to send that, because I've got lots of voice memos like that
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, if I was doing this, if I was on the other side of this, I'd be like, oh, should I send that?
Yeah,
So,
I think we're maybe 10 minutes.
That's not the worst one. Like, there's
Yeah.
I'm sure there's ones that are-
Oh yeah, dude. When I was going through those recordings, I was like, I cannot send that. I just cannot send it, and I can't really reveal that to the world. That's awful. And I've just
Can't give
stopped
all our
it.
secrets away as well.
Exactly. Yeah, our trade secrets. Alcohol, tenants. But it's
Oh, yeah,
like,
lovely.
I stopped about 10 seconds before I started screaming. It felt right as a general kind of statement. But I think that's what we do is we'll just kind of jam something like that, have a couple of beers, and have a smoke or whatever, and just go wherever we kind of feel like taking it. So Alex might come up with a riff, or Gary might come up with a riff, or Claire might start playing the drums, and we'll all just start playing along with it. And then when it starts occurring to me, I'll start singing melodies with kind of very meaningless lyrics. Kind of just trying to find something that matches it.
Yeah.
I think when I was listening to that song, that's why I stopped it earlier. Because I think at some point during the song, I kind of felt like I had become or was now Mick Jagger. Or the lead singer of Primal Scream, and decided that I should just start singing exactly like that. So,
It did sound like an old school recording like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Say so ourselves.
yeah, very kind. But yeah, so that's kind of where we start off. Is just kind of a vague jam and just see where we go.
A lot of noise.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
I should say as well, just so in between that time, Gary sort of was listening to the recording and came up with a bass line to go along with it. And it was Gary that suggested that we have that as kind of a long introduction to the track. So I think that kind of reflects quite well on how we structure songs, because I think if it had just been me, we probably would have just played it all the way through as that middle section of Gardens, which is just the kind of rock track, and we wouldn't have had the intro and the outro, which kind of turns it into something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more proggy, and a bit more unique. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where the
Yeah.
intro and outro comes from.
Yeah.
Was Gary kind of come up with that?
Should we listen to a little bit more of it from like halfway or towards the end, just to
Sure.
kind of hear what?
Yeah,
Um.
it's a lottery.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, I'm nice and quiet in this recording, so like,
Yeah.
listen to as much of it as you like.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll listen to a little bit more from around about the middle.
I was lying in an open fire, trying to keep my life. And it felt right. Oh, it felt right. Oh, it felt right. Oh, it felt right. Well, I was lying in the darkest sun, trying to see my face. I was seething in the morning sun, trying to see my face. And it felt right. Oh, it felt right.
Yeah, it's turning
Yeah.
into.
That's
Yeah,
that's
you
me
hear-
kind of
you
trying to
hear
do
the-
like Bittersweet Symphony or something like that at
Yeah,
that point, But it's I guess a lot of it is that I'm just trying to sing. It's kind of regurgitating in a lot of ways, or kind of doing my spin on things that I've heard in the past. So like Primal Scream Loaded was a big thing that was in my head when we were playing it then. Like Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil. These kind of songs that just kind of have that kind of steady long build that were very, very big kind of 60s and 70s. I think you can kind of see it beginning to kind of come into the parts that we kind of took out, so the bit that it felt right, even though I sing it sound as though I've just been like grabbed by the balls and like punched repeatedly in the nose. It is like, that's kind of, we took that
That's
out
a good
and
way
then
of
sung
putting
that
it. Yeah.
normally. But yeah, no, that's kind of it. I'm glad that everyone's heard that now, so that's great.
Nice.
No.
So from there, so yeah, you did that. You made that like recording of it. Was there anything else in between? Obviously, there was a lot of stuff that went in between that and then the final finished article that we're about to hear.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you took that jam and made it into a song, a fully formed
So
thing?
I went away after that and kind of structured a song out of it. So I kind of based it on like, a couple of verses, then the chorus, and then came up with the main bit, so the verse and then the it felt right. And then after that, So that was kind of structured from that point of view. And I kind of, we came in and had a sit down, the band as a whole, and kind of jammed it a bit more. And that's when Gary came up with the intro, which we thought
Yeah.
would sound quite nice with that kind of soul, I'm your lover over the top of it. And that kind of it built through that process, and we ended up having something that was a cohesive song. I'd say that's usually kind of how we come up with it. I think the basic structure of the kind of verses and the choruses tends to be something that maybe I'll kind of solidify and cement in some way, and then beyond that, the kind of we all start thinking, how can we make this more interesting than just like what we've got here? That's the core of the song has kind of come about that way, and then the other stuff that we build on that kind of tends to be a process of iteration and of everyone in the band kind of having a say and having a little tweak of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Alex will agree with that. I'd probably say, you don't have a thing to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then there's obviously there's a certain amount of, like when you play it live, it does slightly change. Just like that kind of hammers out any little bits that might, I don't know, you might not even notice. It's like, just, I don't know, changing timings or just adding little bits in. Like, at least for me, because I'm so used to playing rhythm. That's what I've never been a lead guitarist until this band. I do like to wee twiddle every now and again when I'm sitting playing the acoustic, but usually, it was always just strumming and strumming. So I don't know. I feel like the more time, the more we play it. It's just gonna little bits are gonna get added and little tweaks, and I might find like, oh, that chord could be a little different, or like it sounds better like that. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Totally.
I found that as well.
Oh, sorry, mate. You go ahead.
Yeah.
Austin.
Are you sure? Cool. So like with what we do is as well, like with some of the songs now that we've got, when you've got other people there, you've got a band there, or other musicians, that they might suggest something, or they might take something in a completely different direction by like changing a tiny little thing, and then that completely changes it, and it goes off in like another direction.
Yeah, no, totally, man.
Yep.
It's like if putting a stop in somewhere, like for example, can just like change a song so much, just having that little bit of silence and then everyone just back in. Like people love that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like fun to do as well if you're playing. And like that's another big part of it as well. It's just keeping it fun, and like not that it's never not been fun, but just the nature of the way that I think a lot of people play. Just constantly trying to like, I could make this a little bit better. I could do a little extra bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it that sort of structure as well. We realized quite quickly that a big thing that we had that was something we should try and utilize as much as possible, which we all enjoyed, was the fact that we could all sing harmonies. And I think Gardens was one of the first songs we wrote alongside another one called Where Does It Leave Me, which we're hoping to get recorded soon. And I think
that's a good
Gary,
one.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that one, dude. Yeah,
thank you.
That kind of gave us an opportunity with the intro and the outro to focus on building in those harmonies and try and make the most of that. And I think when we established that as a means of going about and doing that, we started using that process of thinking, could we do a little a bridge here where we can all sing some harmonies, or can we add that, take a little cut a bit out here and do harmonies there? And I think that's something that we realized was quite a unique thing that we had to our bow that we wanted to bring into our other songs. So we started thinking about that a lot more and trying to bring in those harmonies as much as possible.
Yeah. So let's have a listen to the final version of Gardens.
Soul, I'm your lover. The gardens told me so. Soul, I'm your lover. The gardens told me so. Soul, stars, I perceive my freedom. And I try to keep it all to myself, 'cause I want to keep it on and on. And it felt right, it felt right, it felt right, it felt right. Soul, I'm your lover. The guardians told me so. Soul, I'm your lover. The guardians told me so. Soul, I'm your lover. The guardians told me so. Soul, I'm your lover. The guardians told me so.
Nice.
Thanks.
You can
Thank
hear.
you.
You can hear. You hear. There's elements of that you hear throughout in the final recording that you can hear in places in that early in the early demo of it. Like
Yeah.
the bass line at the very start, you hear it in the background, so like you hear it being played in the background of the first recording in like random places, but and that becomes a feature, and you hear that it felt right, like that's your chorus, that's your, you know, so you had that from the start, but it's all the other little bits, like how you build it up and then bring it back down.
Totally. I think we kind of started off, as you heard in the the first recording of it. It was far more on the side of that kind of 60s 70s rock kind of style. You know, it was very
Mhm.
much in that mold of like Primal Screams Loaded or Sympathy for the Devil, that kind of style of track. And I think the more that we worked on it, the more it kind of ended up turning into more of an indie rock track and bringing in elements of other bands that we like. I know Gary's a Weezer fan and that kind of 90s rock thing. You know, like Hole, I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of as well. And you start
Yeah.
bringing these
Yeah.
kind of like these sounds and
You can
into
hear
it.
that grungy, the kind of grungy guitar in the background
Yeah.
mixed in the chorus.
Yeah, we wanted to.
and the
I think it's
verses.
something that we'll probably have more of that kind of grungy guitar in these other tracks. Like as you said, we mentioned Where Does It Leave Me? That's got more of a kind of Pixies kind of grungy vibe to it as well. So quite excited to get sharing the other stuff that we've worked on. Hopefully get back in the studio soon because they do show different styles of music that we all work with, and I think they'll display a lot more of the different styles of songwriting that are in the band and the different tastes and influences that we have between ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would you say writes what your individual styles then? So we've kind of gone into that a little bit earlier, but
Sure.
what kind of genres do you each have? And also for the two that aren't here as well, Dave, what do you think they bring? You know, what kind of styles do they bring to the band?
Well, for Claire, like I know that she's classically trained, like as in, like she's played piano and drums for a very like a long time, and she did music at uni as well. So like I mean, at least from my side, I can't read music or like do any notation. I can read tab and like I taught myself, but she's got that. Uh, she's got all the theory kind of side of it that I don't have, and then she's also she brings her angelic voice and her she kind of I don't know, like Thin Lizzy are big. I think they were massive for her.
Mm.
And then like kind of she listens to a lot of stuff around the house. Have you heard Elephant Sessions? She's been quite into them, so that's
Yeah.
like kind of more traditional sort of
Yeah,
instrumental
great. Yeah.
music. And sort of like Glenn Hansard.
Yeah.
Stuff
Big
like
fan
that.
of Glenn Hansard.
Damien Rice,
Yeah.
like delicate,
Mhm.
delicate little melodies and stuff, and like Gary, like Robbie kind of touched on there, just big. He likes Weezer and Incubus.
Yeah.
Incubus. Yeah, 90s, a 90s boy like me. Just we've
Yeah.
got like slightly different kind of taste, but yeah, like even before that as well. So he likes Hall and Oates and um, Elton John, and like we both like Supertramp and what's it? I had another one there. Queen, that's the one.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Just from being
Oh, yeah, I
younger,
remember.
like because yeah, I'd like my parents both listening to that kind of stuff as well. So you're in the car and like that's why I'll never not enjoy Annie Lennox just because it's and Bob Dylan as well. That's just car music and
Mhm.
it's like comforting if you know what I mean.
I
Yeah.
remember just listening to Bohemian Rhapsody over and over again when I was younger because it was like it's just such a unique song. In the fact that it's like several songs in one, and yet and it's like I remember just listening to that and liking different sections of it more or less as I grew up. Different sections I'd enjoy. The way that it can turn and change as a song is so awesome. I think that was something that led me into prog rock and things like that. Those kind of like absurd changes and things. Really
Yeah.
fascinating.
For me,
Yeah, I really like
yeah.
that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for me it was Citizen Erased by Muse. That's
Ye-
have you ever heard?
I don't know
should
the
do, man.
song.
It's on Origin of Symmetry. If you haven't
will-
heard it,
I will
give it a
recognise it.
listen because that is a similar um kind of the way it changes. The song changes throughout, like a bit like Bohemian Rhapsody. You've got this big heavy riff at the beginning. It's a bit different to Bohemian Rhapsody, but it brings it right down. You've got like a nice guitar solo in the middle, and then brings it back up, then brings it back down. This big piano outro at the end, and then I remember hearing that when I was like I must have been about 10 or something, and going, "Oh my god!" like this is like I hadn't heard anything like it at the time,
Yeah.
like with rock music. But yeah, I see what you mean by that. You do end up preferring as you get older. You prefer different parts, so you appreciate different bits more
For
than
sure.
you did when you were younger.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think when
Like I
Oh,
used
sorry.
to really not like 80s music when I was growing up. I just didn't have any time for it. Now it's just like some 80s groove is just what the doctor ordered, or like some wacky 80s ballad that is just pure 80s. I love that stuff now.
For sure. I remember
I mean, part of it is the wild solos, just melting my face off
Mm.
and all that stuff. Is
totally. It's funny because I was slightly changing the topic a little bit, but I was listening, going back to the podcast you had with Alex. He was chatting about how his songwriting had also been affected by the open mic circuit in Glasgow, and about how you can start off with the best intentions with these kind of like really complex finger picking tracks, but the reality is that most of the time in the environments you're going into, people want you to
You can't
play
hear it,
loud,
yeah.
sort of like
Wonderwall.
Wonderwall, yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of style of thing. And I remember when before I met the band and I was just getting into open mics, I was really obsessed with like a band called Fubuder, which are quite similar. They're kind of more of an electronic they're like alt J mixed with King Crimson or something, in that they write very kind of disjointed tracks that are really interesting. So I was spending a lot of time just poring over the guitar and the piano, trying to figure out these really complicated songs with like interesting progressions and surprising kind of like journeys that they go on, and went to an open mic and just everyone lost interest within 10 seconds of me
Yeah.
starting, because it was just this quiet kind of like thing that I thought everyone's going to, in their minds, they were going to sit there and have this big journey with me, and they were immediately like, who is this guy trying to can't even hear the guitar. So I think that certainly, like, I had to sit down and kind of go, maybe this isn't, maybe I need to start refocusing my attentions onto things that are a bit more rocky. And I think that definitely led me down the road of starting to write songs like Gardens and songs that we do with Ginger.
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah. I miss the open mic night scene so much. Like it's for years in Edinburgh. Me and my old bandmates, like guys I went to high school with, we ran an open mic night in like the center of town, and yeah, that's invaluable like experience, just playing every week, like in front of the whole range of from nobody to like a house, like the pub's so full that nobody can get in and like stuff like that, and just I think it's well important for that. Like just I really miss playing the open mic night at the bottom of my road now. Just used to go there every week, get some drinks, like
Yeah.
just whack out usually the same covers, to be fair. Like I've learned a couple of new ones because of the lockdown, but like it's it's such
Yeah.
an important part of the scene that's like now just
Yeah.
kind of gone.
No, it's not there.
Yeah.
It'll come back though. When it comes
sure.
back, I think
Yeah.
it'll be like what it was times 10. You know, it's
Yeah,
gonna
man.
be
Everyone,
like
everyone on their dial will be out with a guitar.
yeah,
Can't wait.
it'll be good.
But yeah,
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for Ginger then? What's the next step? You were saying about recording
yeah.
more stuff.
We recorded our first track over with Jack at Lost Oscillation, which was awesome. I'm really excited to record our next track.
Shout out Lost Os.
Yeah, they're awesome. Jack was awesome to work with. But yeah, the plan from here, I think we're going to do a series of singles. I think just so we can you know tighten up what it is we want to do before we go into a bigger project. We've got like such a massive amount of feedback from this like campaign that we've worked on. You know, sending gardens out to journalists and labels and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of them have given us really valuable feedback on the kind of directions we could work on and things that we could improve on. So I think we'll get a couple more singles, I think, and then maybe look to do an album, I think. And by that stage, I think we'll have a good sort of 15 to 20 tracks that we can sit down and say, well, what should we do? Which ones should we use? How many? And all that kind of stuff, and have a clearer idea of what we're going to do with the sound of the band as well. So really excited for that.
I mean, even during the lockdown, though, we've kind of, at least I've been trying to keep up with the writing, and it's obviously it's not as easy as just all piling over at someone's house, but can still like ping Robbie the stems of the ideas I've got over Dropbox, and then he can figure out something, and then the others obviously me and Gary and Claire live together. Not obvious at all, but yeah, we all live together.
Obviously,
so it's a bit easier for us to like just share the stuff between us. Like Robbie's all the way on the other side of town, so.
Yeah, no. Now that I've got the mic and the Scarlet set up, I'll be getting after those tracks, Alex. I'm sorry I've taken so long.
Good. No, that's the only reason I brought it up.
Just a wee reminder, mate. I'm watching you. I'm waiting.
Yeah, a nice passive aggressive reminder for you.
Now the public knows. Now the general public knows.
But I think just keep writing and recording. And
Totally.
try and get as many people to hear it as possible.
Yeah.
And
getting some
when gigs are a
festivals.
thing, I think we've got one next January. That's like the next gig. We had one at King Tut's that has been it's not happening anymore because it was in August. So it's obviously the whole situation.
January is the next gig, and we'll be able to announce that when we get the go ahead. But it should be a really big one. Really excited for it, and we're really excited to get back on the gigging scene, and then hopefully some festivals next summer as well. We had a couple of festivals that we were still in the running for this summer, which obviously sadly have been cancelled for all the right reasons. And hopefully we can all get back out and enjoy a festival in the summer next summer too. So yeah, man, that's the hope, that's the target.
Yeah. Cool. So I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been great chatting to you both, and
it's been a pleasure,
all the
man.
best.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, all the best for all the music and all. Yeah, post lockdown gigs and things.
sure.
I'm sure we can get a gig again sometime soon after that.
Well, hopefully you can join us on stage for the the single party when we get back going again. It'd be good to get a gig together.
I'd be up for
that. Really enjoyed
definitely.
your launch at Old Hairdresser. So let's get
cheers.
you on soon.
Yeah,
Thanks for
that's
having us on.
class.
Thanks for having us on.
Cool. Right, I'll see you guys soon.
See you, mate.
Yeah, have a good one, man. See you later.
All
on.
the best, pal.
There.